My name is Susan Norton, and I'm a member of the Executive Board of the Arkansas Academy of Computing. Today, I will be interviewing Carl Frank, who is a 2014 inductee for the Arkansas Academy of Computing. Carl, can you tell me the story of what first got you interested in computing?
I graduated high school in 1981, and we did not have computers at our school at that time. And I suppose my initial interest was I was a big science fiction fan, and you know, computers were very prominent in that genre, and I anticipated that was going to be the way of the future, and any company or anybody was going to be using computers. And so I actually went to my undergraduate institution at Harrison State University and was a declared major of computer science, having never touched or seen a computer.
Wow. So then how did you begin your career in computing?
I had a lot of amazing teachers at Henderson State, and one of those was Clarence Durand, who was probably the most influential person there. I took a lot of classes under him, and during my senior year, he asked me to be his grader / tutor. And so I did a lot of tutoring, and not only for the computer science classes, but intro to computers, which was really a freshman level course, but there were a lot of non-traditional students in the community that were just trying to learn about computers at the time. PCs were beginning to get affordable. They were beginning to come to home by my senior year. They weren't at least foreign concepts, and a lot of the non-traditional students, and I'm sure some of the traditional ones, had given positive feedback to Clarence, and he encouraged that I consider getting my master's so that I could go into teaching. And so he kind of planted that seed, and I graduated. Then I went to University of Southern Miss and obtained my master's. I should also note that, at least in terms of my interest at Henderson, John Chamberlain did teach a data communications class. He was, Arkansas Systems, and he, perhaps as a favor, perhaps because he enjoyed it, but he taught a data communications class several times throughout the time I was there. And it was great for me because it was kind of a hands-on, wasn't just a programming, but I learned how to solder. I made a null modem. I got to construct things, and so that was a quite interesting course for me at the time.
So let's talk about your teaching career then. Your goal was to teach, and so after your master's degree, what was your first teaching job?
Well, my first teaching job, I actually worked at Arkansas Systems upon graduating with my master's. I stayed there a little over a year, and Henderson kind of called me up to the big leagues. They basically had a position come open, and so I actually at that time applied for and taught at Henderson and worked in computing services. So I was kind of helping Henderson build its network, and which was growing and expanding at the time, and also began teaching a lot of the introductory courses. And so I taught, basically the programming 1 and the programming 2 and the COBOL and RPG, and so I taught there for approximately 3 years.
And after that?
After that, I left Henderson to teach at Cameron University in Lawton, Oklahoma. I taught there for 2 years in their Department of Technology. That was more, their technology department had some branches that were engineering, circuits and electronics circuits, and on our side it was more of a CIS school. In fact, I sponsored the Data Processing Management Association, which would be a student professional organization similar to the ACM that we're probably more familiar with, and stayed there for 2 years before returning to Arkansas. When I returned to Arkansas, I worked for a Department of Higher Ed for about a year before transferring or changing jobs back to teaching at the Arkansas School for Math and Science, where I've been since 1995.
Wow.
And so I've been there pretty good long while now.
And so at the Arkansas School of Math and Science, the courses you teach encourage students to learn about what aspects of computing?
Well, It sometimes varies based on other faculty, but we certainly have initial computer programming classes, which pretty much mimic or mirror what I taught at the freshman level at college. And so in the early years, we actually made the transition to teach C++, even before the AP organization did, because they were still using Pascal, and none of the universities were still doing that. And so when they asked me, did I want to teach C++ or Pascal, I said C++, and they kind of flipped through my transcript and they said, well, we see that you've not had a class in C++, and I said, well, that doesn't really matter, but if we're going to prepare our students for college, Pascal's kind of gone away. We need to step up and proceed. And so they were basically just the same courses I taught, at Henderson. And so those were the beginning courses. We also had a networking course. We had database. Eventually we had web page, but I guess back then it was just an HTML class. It was probably more of a front end, make something appear in your web browser, as opposed to having a dynamic, living, that has changed over the years. We also teach more than one language. We had a Visual Basic class and a C++ course. We retained it because eventually we changed the course from a C++ based language to Java. Eventually we switched to Java.
So do you see, what do you see as changes to come, and in the future, what would your vision be for the coursework that the students would be able to accomplish?
Well, one of the main, hurdles at attracting students in the discipline is they don't know what computer science is. They know what games are. They know what apps are. And so I think that you're going to see more schools, at least in terms of promoting the discipline, are going to have courses that will be attractive to students. And some of those are great courses that kind of get you in, but you might be better at those if you had some of the foundations. And so it's kind of, you're going to have a roundabout kind of way of attracting the audience. I think that in terms of just the discipline, in terms of the future of computer science, I think that as things continue to get faster and more miniature, we're going to see more wearable technology. I know that I've got some graduates that are doing great things with drones, the flyable drones, and that are programming those, and there's just untapped applications for all these new gadgets.
So would you have any particular words of wisdom for young students coming out of your program or into the university or out of the university?
Well, I guess I would encourage all students to at least take a programming class. After one university class, if you've not had any exposure in a high school level, you're not going to become an expert in computers or programming after one course, but you'll be exposed to logic, and you at least will begin to have an understanding of what goes on. It doesn't matter if you choose chemistry or biology or business, computing is going to be an integral part of whatever STEM-related career that someone chooses. And so don't be afraid to take it just because you have not had an opportunity to take it in your past. And so it's very doable.
Those are good words of wisdom. I appreciate the time you've spent with us, and we look forward to working with you on the Academy.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.